Hey guys, how are you enjoying 2019 so far? Since I'm back from vacation, there's a lot for me to catch up on. Honestly, that's why vacations aren't that great. I mean, if you work a regular 9-to-5 job, vacations are awesome. But if you're a YouTuber who has to keep up his own schedule of uploads, sometimes you might not want to take a break. Anyway, today we have a video that was requested a lot to me on Discord. And I mean a lot. Well, maybe that's a bit exaggerated, but you get the idea. And I've ignored it for a few months now, but today I'm finally going to respond. Yay! Y'all better be fucking grateful for this. I'm losing massive amounts of brain cells. The things I do for you guys.
Okay, so people have been asking me to respond to Stick. So I'm now going to do it. Now, I'm not going to cover all the questions just like he didn't cover all of mine, but I'll cover two of them. And I'll make it real short and simple. And I will make him look like an idiot because, you know, he is.
Joke's on you. If I'm already an idiot, no one will need you to show that I am.
So let's get started.
This doesn't need to be tested for us to know what would happen, genius. The speed of light is an important concept in our field of physics. It is involved in multiple different laws that can predict the patterns of the behavior of the universe. For example, the Doppler effect, the relationship between wavelength and frequency, the energy of a photon, and King Crocoduck's favorite, Maxwell's equation.
I remember just watching a King Crocoduck video and then just completely copying his point. Reworded, of course. I was like, holy shit, this guy's a genius, and that's such a good point. Let's mention it in my own video someday. So yeah, thanks King Crocoduck for teaching me about Maxwell's equation. It's pretty useful for triggering creationists and flat earthers like this one here.
These equations, if we go into more detail, would alter the physical laws of the universe if the speed of light weren't constant. King Crocoduck has a great video on this, but I'll summarize his points here briefly. If the speed of light were to increase or decrease, the other constants would also have to change to compensate, which are the electric and the magnetic constant variables. Changing these too much would result in a universe that essentially wouldn't function in the way that our universe does, and perhaps wouldn't even have structure at all. That's what I meant by our entire field of physics being out the window. We wouldn't even be here to exist if that were the case. We don't need to actually change the speed of light and fucking test it in order to know what would happen. All of this is predicted mathematically through our physical equations. Moving on.
Okay, so you see all those equations that you just wrote, that you just posted up? They mean nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It means nothing.
Ah yes, the classic, your point doesn't matter because I don't understand it. You do realize that equations like the ones I showed represents laws of physics which are proven to be true. You can test it and you can verify it with numbers. Perhaps Maxwell's law is a bit out there, but let's consider a few common ones. For example, universal gravitation, orbital speed, universal gas law, etc, etc. Plug some numbers in and measure them. They will always hold true, not counting some of them which may have exceptions, but you get the idea. It's just so sad if you think that equations don't mean anything. They are so important in modern technology. Airplanes transporting people to other countries, for example, is one in which the vehicle is strongly dependent on proper engineering, which in turn is based on physical equations involving force. And this is the same for many modern technologies. Ignoring equations is denying basic facts. You may not have to understand what the laws are, but that doesn't mean you should promote the idea that they are false. Just admit you don't have a proper grasp of physics and then get on with your life.
What matters is physical evidence. Physical evidence will outbeat any words you have to say.
Mathematics is a form of evidence. I feel like you're just trying to bend the definition of the word evidence here. Whatever you don't like, you would just say it's not actual evidence. Well, let me tell you something. For concepts that are very well established, like the equations involving speed of light for example, mathematics is part of the evidence, but is also the conclusion that is reached. The relationship between wavelength and frequency, for example, is an equation scientists developed to describe waves and to define variables. The Doppler effect measures perceived frequency change based on observations. These equations were derived. They weren't here to prove the concepts, but rather the concepts proved them. Therefore, they can be used to predict outcomes of hypothetical situations, such as if the speed of light were changed. And that's exactly what my point was about. Changing the speed of light would change other physical constants, and that is described by the laws of physics, which have been proven already through direct observations and measurements. So you're wrong, equations do mean something.
So what you just posted there was nothing. It was just you talking on a screen. Like you always do, like I said before.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, it's just me talking, but you're also doing the same, so let's just say we're even.
See, Nikola Tesla had the right idea.
You know, theoretical mathematics, like the one physicists use for string theory, for example, is different than mathematical equations that are already proven to be true in all cases. I can't really find where the quote originally came from, but I'm quite certain he doesn't mean what you think he means. But until this is verified, we'll just leave it at that.
See, Stick, you are religious. You have blind faith. I don't. but I'm also religious.
Blind faith does not mean you're religious, but if you're religious, that means you have blind faith. You calling me religious doesn't really help your argument whatsoever.
I'm just able to prove what I say. It's that simple. Here's an example. There were giants in the earth in those days and also after that, when the angels came into the daughters of men and they bare children to them.
Let's just think about that for 1 second here. You do realize that that is such a massive leap in faith. Okay, let's break this down one by one. The footprints. I see that you'd rather succumb to news articles that aim to entertain rather than scientific experimentation, which are done for the purpose of discovering truth. But let's say there legitimately were large footprints found. How would that go from footprints to the giants in Genesis 6, that God created them and there were angels and such? See how that's a leap of faith? If the footprints were real, then we could conclude that something created it, either that it was made by someone as a hoax, or perhaps there were larger creatures that had feet the shape of human feet. That's all you can conclude from that. You cannot jump to the Bible or Genesis being truth from just that, much less the existence of angels that bear children to the giants. That's not the scientific approach, nor is it reasonable. You speak of your hard physical evidence, but really you're just full of shit.
Of course! Why do you need evidence for anything? It's just true because, because it is. Excuse me while I go ride on my fucking six-headed dragon. Also, for this video you put in with the sun supposedly under the clouds, yeah, I don't know if you know what a sunset is, but that's a sunset. The sun is dipping below the horizon. You can tell by the orange tone of the sunlight. Not to mention that literally right before this clip you put in another video of the sun above the clouds. Make up your mind.
I'm sorry, Stick, I'm just waiting for you to present that evidence that you talk about so much. How you're so factual and how religion is just, an imaginary, invisible thing.
What? Religion isn't imaginary nor is it invisible, and I've never claimed so. Plenty of people are religious. You probably meant the contents or beliefs of religion. Consider writing a script before recording.
So you want me to pick one, whether the sun is under the clouds or above the clouds? It's both. As it rotates around the earth, it moves up and it moves down. And as it rotates, it also extends outwards for a certain amount of time, and then it pulls back inwards as it rotates.
See, this is why I originally didn't want to respond to this video. This guy is such low-hanging fruit. I mean, I know flat earthers are low-hanging fruit already, but this is like negative hanging fruit. His fruit are fucking below the earth's crust. Look at all these crazy claims with nothing to back it up whatsoever. The sun sinking below and rising above the clouds whenever it pleases, moving closer and further away from the North Pole to explain seasons. Let me ask a question. If it is true that the sun dips below the clouds sometimes, why is it that we only see it when there's a sunset or sunrise? Why does that never happen, say, during the day when the sun is directly over our heads? Let me guess. The sun is unique and is different for everybody.
Oh, and here's the big one. The sun stops moving for a certain amount of time. Completely. Just stops moving. You can see for yourself.
Yes, keep them coming. Now you're just making a claim that's based on absolutely nothing. At least the other ones, like the sun moving closer and further away from the North Pole, had a purpose in explaining seasons. But now you're just claiming the sun just stops and moves randomly, and that's not even to explain anything. Please tell me where you are getting your claims. You know what would be more convincing? If you mapped out when the sun stops, when it starts moving, how fast it moves, and what phenomenon do we observe as a result, such as longer days perhaps, or shorter nights.
So, you believe the Earth is a ball, right? Or an oblate spheroid, at least. So what you are saying is you believe in a guy named Pythagoras talking about how the Earth is a ball when he had no form of flight, no form of rocketry, no form of technology whatsoever. And you think what he said was true?
Yeah, you know what? First of all, Pythagoras didn't create a model of the universe that is similar to what we know it is today. His model did involve the Earth revolving around the sun, but he also believed that the sun was the center of the universe. Second of all, you do realize we don't trust people of ancient times. Rather, we trust the scientists of today. Now we have reliable measurements, such as satellites, that give us accurate measurements of the Earth and of the solar system. Denying that would also be denying anything regarding modern technology, like your phone. If you've ever used a GPS on your phone, then you're a hypocrite. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Got a video suggestion for me? Send it to me me on Discord. Alright, I'll see you later. Looking forward to a great 2019. I would also like to give a huge shout out to Daniel Seibel and Fireshard for being the top patrons, as well as another honorable mention to Garrett Renault for being the highest lifetime supporter, plus Sebastian Marcoda Bonstead and Aided Furball for also being loyal patrons. Thank you.